piccolo ringraziamento alla stampa che ha seguito questi 2 giorni, mi sento di dire, insomma, con attenzione. Sono presenti al tavolo Marcella Panucci, che è il capo di gabinetto del Ministero dell'Università e della Ricerca, Lamberto Moruzzi, che è il consigliere diplomatico del ministro Bernini, Fabio Fava, che è stato Sherpa G7, Sherpa del G7 del MUR, Gianluigi Consoli all'estrema destra del tavolo, che è il direttore generale internazionalizzazione del MUR. Io lascio subito la parola al ministro Anna Maria Bernini, ministro dell'Università e della Ricerca. Al termine del suo intervento ovviamente raccoglieremo le eventuali vostre domande e risponderemo con piacere.
Grazie.
Thank you very much, Francesco. I too would like to start by thanking all of you. I would like to thank the press. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for having been with us throughout this event. It's really very important to us to communicate science. So if we don't manage to do that, it's our fault. So help us be clearer, because what we've been doing over the past couple of days isn't just something done within the confines of a laboratory. What we're talking about is science for all. We're not talking about ivory towers, people closed in on themselves. We're talking about something which is important for the community at large. So it's very, very important that you help us communicate this in a clear fashion. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister's office, for your essential support before, during, and after. And I can also tell you that our G7 on research and technology is going to continue. We're going to have 4 other events which are equally important on challenges, which we'll be talking about later on. Challenging themes, all the themes that we have been addressing over the past 2 days, are very, very close to the lives of each and every one of us and the future, indeed, of our country. We've been working with the G7 for the well-being of our country, with the support of Commissioner Ivanova from the EU. And I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the police forces who've done an excellent job. They've made sure that we felt safe here in this structure, in this building, but they've also ensured that we were able to travel safely. We didn't want the G7 just to be devoted to the city of Bologna for the reason which I'm sure you readily understand. Bologna is the center of academia in a way. The first university was born here in 1088. And it was after that that other universities were opened throughout the world. But what we did here in Bologna was not to celebrate our past. We wanted to project ourselves towards our future. And it's thanks to those who wanted to share this experience with us that we can say that this initiative has been a successful one. Now, why has it been a successful one? Because those who were involved in this program provided solutions. They proposed concrete measures. They came up with positive plans, which will, the effects of which will be felt immediately and not in the future. For instance, we dealt basically with 4 topics. We dealt with security in research, first of all. Research is at the very heart of our lives. Our well-being depends on research. The quality of our life depends on research. Our life expectancy, our prospects for the future depend on research. And our enhanced use of technology depend on research. And then there's the question of talent and how to exchange and enhance the talent which we have. which is important for each and every country around the table. Our talents should be able to share the result of their research, the knowledge, the big data, the metadata, which is there. They have to be able to do this as much as possible without this necessarily posing a risk or without this being used in an inappropriate or hostile fashion. Now, we don't want the result of the science to be used by hostile nations or for hostile purposes. This is a very important topic because that topic is exactly the subject which will lead to exchanges of views between the G7 countries, or among the G7 countries, because we want to ensure that research is as open as possible, but at the same time as secure as possible and as this is what we've said, that science has to be opened up, but only restricted when the data cannot be divulged because the data could jeopardize our security. Now, we're talking about public-funded research, private-funded research as well. The whole idea is that there are research infrastructures there which will ensure and work towards the well-being of us all. We discussed another very important issue, the large research infrastructures. Leonardo, and needless to say, I'd like to thank President Antonio Zoccoli, who's the president of the National Supercomputing Center, HPC, Big Data, and quantum computing. I'd also like to thank Mr. Bettini, who's president of Cineca. I'd also like to thank the rector of the University of Bologna, who attended our initiatives. And he was a co-host, along with ourselves, for this initiative, which took us from our past history to innovation. Now, we said not only that we wanted to enhance the research infrastructures which we already have, but we want to bolster them. Now, today, my colleagues and ministers referred to the great quality of the research infrastructures which we have at the Technopole. Now, we, as a university for the Ministry for Universities and Research, were funding these centers, and we're also ensuring their accreditation, and we want them to be updated. We want them to be cutting-edge, performing research infrastructures, and we're helping them to remain so. They are useful in that they can help us predict the future and help us understand how we can attract certain themes for research purposes to our country, and in that way, we hope to be able to counteract the brain drain. Now, in our final declaration, we also referred to themes for the future. Now, we often refer to the future, but when we say the future, what we mean is now. When referring to artificial intelligence, we're actually talking about artificial intelligence, which, yes, we have to think about in the future, but also what artificial intelligence is in our lives. It's in our homes. It's in our medical tests, which we carry out in all sorts of different areas of current society. And the important thing to remember here, and this was the upshot of our discussion, is that artificial intelligence should always be at the service of the individual. Artificial intelligence should develop in an ethical and democratic fashion. And that is a very practical point. We lay down some clear instructions for ourselves. So infrastructures dealing with AI must be devoted to the service of the community. They must be at the service of the community. They can be used for private purposes as well, for the objectives to be pursued by entrepreneurs, but there have to be rules there. Then we have emerging technology. Now, emerging technology has a role to play too. And here I'd like to thank Antonio Zoccoli, but also Professor Tommaso Calarco, who deals with quantum technology. We carried out a demonstration and we showed it to our friends and colleagues from the G7, and we explained something which they already know, obviously, but we wanted to show what we do in our own way. We wanted to explain how quantum technology is an incredible accelerator. It can predict pharmacological results. It can help us prevent adverse climate events. It can also speed up human intelligence. And I don't want to go any further than that because we'll have occasion to discuss this, I'm sure, in the future. But what I would like to be quite clear upon, and this is a summary of the 2 days and the collateral, the other meetings organized around our meeting, is the following: science, technology, progress. They are all the result of our will. We want them to be democratic, and we want them to be available to each and every one of us. We want our science to be ethical. We want our science to be able to give, to share, and to redistribute. And this leads me on to the third point of our working schedule. Now, our country has a plan called the Mattei Plan, which concerns Africa. And we have a natural approach to Africa, which is the following: when faced with global issues which affect us, which affect Africa, which affect all the continents of the planet, there is only a single way to react, and that is a global reaction. Nobody can tackle age-old problems, colossal events such as pandemics or traumatic events, climate change events, and about very dramatic events. We took our delegation to Forlì. We wanted to show them how Emilia-Romagna and Forlì in particular resisted the damage from the flood. But the flood did occur as a result of climate change. This is yet another adverse event, which we have to try to tackle thanks to a joint approach. Africa is part of that solution. Africa is part of our future. The UN have told us that this is Africa's century for population reasons, for financial reasons, because of migratory flows. These are phenomena which we shouldn't just resign ourselves to. We should avail of these phenomena, use them to the full, to our advantage. We have a number of exchanges with Africa. We're dealing with energy projects, for instance. We're creating various types of infrastructures, be they material or immaterial. We're also working on our human resources, and this is the approach which we have proposed to the G7 and which the G7 agrees with. We also expressed our solidarity, our heartfelt solidarity vis-à-vis Ukraine. We condemned Russia for its attack on Ukraine. And here again, we didn't just come out with declarations of principle. That, I believe, would be the key message to this G7 on research and innovation. We didn't come up with mere declarations. We referred to concrete actions. In 2025 in Italy, there's to be a major Ukraine recovery conference, and each one of us will be able to contribute to that in terms of culture, research, universities, science. Everything which we have will be made available to Ukraine so that the country will be able to get back up on its feet. Now, I can see what my head of private office was just telling me to say. Thank you. I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that this was a team effort. It wasn't just a G7 team effort, but it was really a joint effort on the part of all of Italy was involved. We worked together. I experienced this G7 presidency in a very active fashion because I had great assistance. Fabio Fava, my Sherpa, I can assure you. The Sherpa is the cornerstone of the system. The declarations of the G7 aren't just words. They're actions projected towards the future. And each and every word, every comma counts. And the Sherpa, the diplomatic advisor, Lamberto Moruzzi, they've all worked for Italy on the wording of the text, on the commas. Marcella Panucci, my head of private office, did far more than she should have done or could have done. Everything. She even dealt with the artistic angle. We're very proud of the fact that the Ministry for Universities and Research has a third fundamental component. We call it the third soul, art. Now, we have higher institutes for the arts, be it for music, for the plastic arts, visual arts, dance, and design. We're the only people to provide to the world a whole ecosystem of culture and science and knowledge as complete as ours. And yesterday, and this is the last point, we brought our delegates to Forlì to show them the real resilience and to show them the real know-how of the Italians. We brought together a symphonic orchestra involving all the Italian conservatories, students. We chose our students from all the Italian conservatories, and obviously the selection process was very tough indeed. We put together an orchestra. We had 4 singers, 2 sopranos, 1 tenor, and a bass. They were all students, and we had them perform before the G7 ministers. I can assure you it was a really extraordinary experience. They gave their level best, and they showed what the Italian aesthetic ecosystem can produce. We're the only people to have these roots. We'd go back so far. And this showed us that art and technology can be combined together, and they are the true source of creation, of innovation. What did you want to say to me? The seas.
Another fundamental thing which I connect to the Mattei plan is, but it's different, biodiversity. We talked about that as well, and there are many other themes. And when we talk about the big infrastructures, we also choose big subjects. An infrastructure on which we really invested a lot is Leonardo. which must continue to be and remain performing. It must continue to grow, but we also invested on other structures connected in part to the national plan of recovery and resilience, but that go back to certain subjects like biodiversity. We have a National Center for Biodiversity in Palermo. This is another element of investment that represents for us all a real challenge for the future. The colleagues of the G7 said, oh, we have to look to the cosmos, to the deep universe. We talked about the Einstein telescope. You know about this. We want to take you to Sardinia. But you must realize that of the part having two seas and oceans, we only employ 10% of our resources. And if we will not stop the loss of biodiversity, this will have a dramatic impact on the life of us all. And so even on this last point, on the need to care for our oceans, our seas, and to do this technologically, we're already doing so, not only making ecological declarations, but working with drones, satellites, and dealing with cleaning microplastics that invade our seas. We're already doing this, and we'll continue to do so. But this is a European subject of interest because, as usual, if we share our problems, we can only give shared answers. And the very first side event of the 4 side events, which the G7 of Science and Technology and Innovation will continue, will be held this afternoon, and this will be its theme. And it will be part of a collaboration process that is already underway and which will continue with the European Union and with the Commissioner Ivanova. And now I'm going to come to my last thanks, which I want to extend to the ministry itself. There is the ministers, we are all pro tempore. So the first time I met the trade unions about 1.5 years ago, the first thing they said is, you are the 6th minister that we meet. And I said, well, I hope you'll have other ministers in life. But we are the political part. We are pro tempore part. We put a lot of our energy in this. Then there's the core of the ministry, the directors, the part that remains, with whom we have a particularly fluid and happy kind of relationship with Gianluigi Consoli, who is the General Director of International Affairs and Internationalization and Communication. We share everything, experiences, our African spring times, because we went to Egypt, we went to Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria. Will continue in summer and in autumn. I think we'll be going to Kenya. No, sorry, to Ethiopia soon. And so here we have also the pro tempore and stability, because Gianluigi Consoli is our partner, which we've known for many, many years, and he is the historical memory of the minister. We collaborated directly, and therefore I must say that what has come up is a very dense product, both dense in content and in meaning, a content product. I always ask for this concreteness. I think we have to talk, but we have to have concrete actions. And so what we have here in this G7 is a lot of concrete aspects, and we'll see this, you'll see this yourself in the way in which we will be working on emerging technologies especially. I think I'd like to stop here. I have the feeling that maybe someone has questions. It's not a monologue, so if there are other questions, we are here, obviously. You are available to answer. And I can't wait for it to end. We understand that, of course. Yes. Well, I would ask you to stand up, introduce yourself. Hello, Minister. Hello to everyone. The declaration of the G7 are not just words, but actions projected towards the future. According to you, if you were to identify or to define the main the achievements reached here in Bologna, what will you remember? Well, a supercomputer, surely that will be used in medicine, in life sciences, a speeding up of the treatment of people that is becoming more and more concrete. Many times we have talked about the pandemic, and we said that with a supercomputer like Leonardo or with a quantum computer like the one we simulated yesterday, we will be able to find treatments for diseases, because the approach has to be holistic, that once upon a time would have taken 20 years. So I would say that the most positive and concrete action is the plastic demonstration of the possibility of applying technology to the daily needs of the human being. Hello, Minister. I am Mauro Torresi from San Marino TV. Two quick questions I want to ask. How did you talk about nuclear energy, new technology, and also another question as to San Marino? We have a new government, and in recent months you worked in the university. I wanted to ask you if you think you will guarantee your support and collaboration to San Marino. Well, we'll start with the second question. We are expecting the visit of the new people, and we will give continuation to the agreements of collaboration. As to nuclear energy, we talked about nuclear energy under the profile of research. This afternoon, we will have Gilberto Frattini, who is head of this Gilberto Pichetto Frattini dossier. And so our counterparts of nuclear fusion will be dealing with clean energy in view of decarbonization, energy saving, and non-energy dependence, which has in a way blocked, especially in certain moments of our history as a country, our energy supply. So we talked about nuclear fusion in terms of research. I repeat, it's not a reality yet. However, it is very much supported by our G7 colleagues that have already started working on fusion and fission. And this is the sole real possibility of clean energy and decarbonized energy for our planet. There's another colleague over there. Andrea Sangiame, Agenzia there. Good morning. I'd like to go back as to the security of our research workers. What are you going to do, concretely speaking, to defend our research workers, especially to the use of hostile use of their work? We have to guarantee that their work be, first of all, maintained in the right area, in the right sector, places where research actually exists in research structures. We've created and are creating places where you can carry out excellent research as the supercomputer Leonardo systems and innovation, partnerships, other themes like mobility, sustainable mobility, biodiversity, etc. Gene therapy, RNA therapy, agri-tech, another important subject which we have to deal with, especially in Africa, the African continent. Agriculture, farming is not done only with the work of people, with tractors, but with satellites and drones, exactly as the way we are doing with our oceans and seas. How to guarantee the well-being of our research workers? Well, we want to create an equivalency of their titles. What is valid in one country has to be valid in the next, giving them a balanced kind of treatment, and that's a more national dimension we have to guarantee to them. If I can allow myself to say that the postdoc, which is their contract, should be valid in every sense, economically speaking, but also as portability in one country as in another, and guaranteeing the fact that training has to be transdisciplinary. We can no longer train our research workers, our children, our students, but especially our research workers. We cannot train them as if the world was the same as that of 2 years ago. It's no longer so. We have to guarantee a real interdisciplinarity, the capacity to mix hard sciences with other topics, other subjects, giving flexibility. I'm talking about humanities, of course, which we lawyers come from, or people who are have degrees in letters and philosophy, humanities and philosophy. So if you think about this, it's like going back to our Renaissance, because Galileo, Leonardo, our great men of the Renaissance were both artists and scientists, painters and astronomers, doctors and philosophers. So to talk about a robotic arm of AI or of the training of algorithms, you have to have a more philosophical vision. This to give you very concrete examples. Otherwise, the hardness of technology alone is not enough to put the tool at the service of common interests. Good morning. My name is Gandolfi Nicoletta. I know you, yes. Hello, it's a great honor to be here. We come from Bologna, and you're much younger than myself. You're always kind. I'm a journalist, but Anna Maria knows this well. I'm also an architect, and so I'd like to go back to what I was saying. These 2 days were very interesting, very concrete, and you have to tell me what I forgot to say, please. I'm sure I forgot to say something. I'd like to go back to the last words you mentioned. Among the many interesting topics, there's that of the Renaissance. The Renaissance, which is artistic and I would say also architectural, even in building this AI, which we saw yesterday afternoon, which we talked about, AI applied to the cultural heritage, and you have supported the porticos of Bologna as heritage of the UNESCO. One of the things we applied on AI to is the augmented reality and the safeguard of cultural heritage. And yes, you even gave me an answer. So yes, that was the subject, AI that has to be applied to cultural heritage. Another example, talking about how much I cannot separate. Everyone was surprised by saying that I would put the dramatic arts, conservatory all together as if the artistic dimension was something different. But talking with my American colleague, I said, next time you must come to see what a fine arts academy is today. It's a 3D printer, it's augmented reality, it's a robotic arm that works on restoration. This is what is really concrete. Technology and art together really create innovation. This is something that I feel is really important. It's the real heritage of our country, and through our technology, through Leonardo, through robotic arms of the IT, we really enhance. I don't want to bore you too much, but I'm giving you the answers. You asked the questions. These are very concrete themes, topics, but I feel that each of us every day is faced by the topics which we have dealt with. When we go home, we turn on the light and we say, hey, Siri, or we talk with our Alexi or Alexa. When we turn on and off the lights, when we come in the house, when we look on our phone and look at the messages, when we take a drug for our headache, when we have to carry out other examinations, even on dual use. We've talked about dual use. Dual use, in fact, is very tricky. It's kind of slippery ground. Everything is dual use in life. Even people who are saying we have to boycott dual use. One says this using the computer, and computer is dual use by definition. Even a knife is dual use. You can use it to cut bread or to create damage. So it's not the tool in itself which is good or bad. It depends on who uses it, how it is used, and towards what destination it goes. That's the meaning. Even water's dual use. You can make coffee, tea, you can wash with water, or you can go waterboarding, or if you have high-pressure water, that's terrible. It cuts things. Lorenzo Bertini can tell us about that. Everything is dual use. A tool is neither good or bad. It depends who uses it and how where it's destined. And here we are here to give good destinations to emerging technologies. I see no hands. That might be a good thing or a bad thing at the same time. I'm sorry, Minister, since you talked about this subject of what is the use that is made of a tool, and we've been talking for a long time about a danger represented by AI. So what have you decided on this front? How should we deal with AI? Well, first of all, I'm going to give you the regulation, then the concrete example. We want to share regulations in Europe. Europe has done so, established principles, but regulations cannot be binding. They have to be behavioral rules, regulations, because we have different legal sort of jurisdictions, and we can carry out international codes of ethics, different codes of ethics at the international level. But the concrete example is this. AI has to have upstream and downstream the control of human intelligence. Human intelligence programs elaborates great data, big data, and programs these. There's something downstream that elaborates results and decides what to do with these results of AI. Even AI is a tool in itself. There has to be someone who decides how to use it and someone else who gives a destination to it. Here we have a supercomputer. Am I saying something that is wrong? The training of algorithms, we do this. The American colleague said, we have to be very careful with biases because according to whether big data are programmed by a man or a woman, that can make the difference since our data is so sensitive. So there's always a biological AI. This is the rule. There's always a biological intelligence upstream and downstream of AI because ChatGPT is a tool and we have to be able to govern it. This is the point. So thank you once again for your attention. The works will proceed with a section on oceans and seas. But don't worry, the session on the seas, you won't have to come to that. You're all free, so thank you very much. Thanks for your support. Thank you so much.